Joining us right now, live on the phone, is from BASS, Mr. Dave Precht. Dave, how you doing tonight?
Hey, Mike. First-time caller.
Yes, I love it, man. We're excited to get you on the show. We've had Jerry on, and gosh, we've had Chase on, and we've had a bunch of anglers on over the years. But I'm so excited to have you on the show tonight. Thanks for joining us.
Well, sure. It's good to be here. I enjoy your show.
We were just talking, Dave. You know, when you talk about a veteran of the sport and of the industry, you tend to think about an angler, right? You think about you look at a guy like Jimmy Houston or Hank Parker or Bill Dance. But Dave, I'd put you right there with them. You've been with Bass forever. You've seen it all. You've seen it grow. That's got to be pretty special to still be involved in something you love, you know, years later, and to have watched it evolve.
I am really blessed just to be here and to have been here so long. And, of course, I started as a child, but I have been here about 40 years and cover the sport as a newspaper writer in Houston, Texas, even before then. So I covered the Classic and some of the other tournaments prior to going to work for Bass.
How is what's the mood at Bass? How are the folks in the organization? How is that going on right now?
Yeah, well, if you felt that, you can imagine what it was like for those of us who are part of this. I finally found out how Hillary felt the day after the election. Just quite a setback and a disappointment.
Thank you very much. That was Donald Trump.
We're moving on now, and it's painful on several levels because I really still admire some anglers who left. Some of them were friends over the years. Gary Klein was one of the first guys that I really got close to. I covered his tournament in 1979 on Lake Powell right after I started with Bass, and then we've been friends ever since. And some of the other guys are leaving, and I know I won't be interacting with them much anymore. So that's kind of it's not bittersweet, it's bitter. It's painful.
Yeah. I just want to chime in real quick, and I tell you, I was, I think I was like a lot of guys and sat back and didn't really expect the severity of the shift that happened. Were you surprised, Dave, that many of the big names, the top guys in the sport, made the switch?
Looking back on it, I'm not. At the time, we were saying, well, they'll get 40, they'll maybe some speculation about 50, but not just almost everybody that they asked went on over. Now, a lot of it, I think, is a matter of their roommates and their friends were moving over, chasing the next big thing, and they didn't want to be left out. So once a few of the kind of influencers in the field started moving over, then everybody else followed. But everybody had their reasons, and I don't blame them at all. I wish them the best. I guess it's a tribute to the Elite Series that's where most of them came from, and I appreciate that acknowledgement. But a lot of them have told me that they just thought they were ready for a change, to try something new. Some of them were looking at retiring in a few years. They mentioned that, and so why not try this for a while?
Yeah.
So they'll have their reasons, and you listed a lot of them in the very beginning about how the tourists, including especially the Bassmaster Elite Series, wasn't providing enough money for the guys to make a living. And I regret that.
There was a comment put on a Facebook feed, I think about a week ago, from a former Bass, let me just say Bass staff, that said every one of the Bass elite anglers was replaceable except for KVD. Do you agree with that statement?
No, it's ridiculous. I would not say that. Kevin Van Dam and all the other Elite Series are going to go. Guys are going to go away, get too old to fish. We'll still have Rick Clunn fishing, but they will be replaced in that way. But as far as if the intent was to say that Jordan Lee or any of the other guys leaving the Elite Series is going to be easy to replace, we don't support that. We've disavowed that statement, and it did not come from anybody at Bass.
Gotcha. Okay.
Do you think now MLF's come out with this new program? We don't know all the details on it. Are you worried that MLF might be selling these guys a bill of goods and they should have stayed at Bass?
Man, I can't comment on. I really don't know what they've been sold. That would be the easy answer is yes. But that's for them to decide. I hope that those guys, before they signed up for a 3-year commitment and have switched careers and gone to something that's a little bit unknown, I hope that they really dug into the contract and really asked the right questions. But that's for them to decide. It's not for me.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, being an angler for, I think I fished at the top level for maybe 10 years with bass, close to that. And I went through, I had some good years and boy, I had some really, really struggling years. And, where I was struggling to make a living. And I always wanted transparency because I felt like, man, the tournament organization, look at all the big sponsors. They must be making millions and millions of dollars, and I'm really struggling to get bills paid here. And I always felt lack of transparency was a big problem because I didn't know how much you guys were making, and I knew I wasn't at certain times. And I think personally, lack of transparency might have led to what's going on right here with the anglers and moving over. Do you feel that way? Do you think that it's important to be more transparent? I think I do. I know I do as an angler.
Yeah. Hey, that's a hard question. Would you go to, and say, an employer or someone that you're a contractor for in any other industry and say, show me your books, you're making too much money on this project, and so you're not paying me enough to hang sheetrock, I don't know that you can really ask that in a tournament organization. I think, we've attempted in recent months to be kind of transparent on the challenges of conducting a tournament trail, on the cost of, y'all talked about the TV rights fees, the cost of buying time, whether it's on CBS Sports or ESPN or Discovery Channel, is not, it's not inexpensive. And it would be great if we had a lot of the major, corporations paying us to have our shows on TV, and then we pass that right along to the anglers, and sponsors would be putting up first prizes in millions of dollars. But it has never worked that way. And, really the only way that tournament fishing has been successful for the people who had it, I guess, once you got beyond Ray Scott, but, if you were selling boats, or in ESPN's case, they didn't mind losing money because they were creating content. And I don't know what the end game is for Major League Fishing. I won't comment on that. But unless you have one of those real goals that offsets the losses in holding in tournaments, it's difficult. And now I heard for the guys who have struggled and slept in their trucks, and I understand that might still be going on. I hope not. Fortunately, there's been a minority, but a sizable number of anglers who become millionaires. I don't think anybody but Kevin has become a millionaire off the winnings alone, but we have provided an opportunity for people to sell sponsorships, and people like Mike have been just excellent at moving product and building brands, and those are the ones who really make it. And I wish we could all pay millions of dollars every tournament, but trust me, I don't set the payouts, and I don't look at the books. But trust me, it's just not possible to do that.
Yeah, Dave, I know you. The IM board is lighting up. You want to pass a couple on to Dave?
Yeah. Hey, Dave. This is Dave.
Hey, Dave.
Hey, how you doing? So the IM board,
Good.
I'm gonna parse out some of the decent ones and some of the some of the more hard hitting ones, and I'm going to start off hard. Okay. So
I guess so. Yeah.
Carl wants to know, when did you, if you did, realize there was a problem between bass and the anglers?
We really, I guess, when it really began to drive home was earlier in the spring. You know, we were controlling interest in bass was purchased by Anderson Media, and Chase Anderson is the director. He's been on your show. He came on board less than a year ago, and then, you know, after all the payouts and entry fees were set and tournament schedules were set, and began trying to find out what made the Elite Series tick and what was in the anglers' minds, and got to know a number of people. We went to an Elite Advisory Board meeting in April, and there was a lot of concern expressed at that meeting, and that kind of opened our eyes. After that, we hired a consulting company to help us, and they conducted a focus group at ICAST. And Ike, I know you were in that group, and some other anglers as well. But that was very informative, and then came back from that and did a survey of the entire field and asked some very hard questions about their relationship with bass. And so all that together really told us that there was a problem, and it almost simultaneously we began hearing about Major League Fishing coming along, and, you know, we didn't know what was involved. But all that was part of a process of trying to reshape bass and make it more supportive of the anglers and to answer some of their concerns. And the timing was that, you know, I guess it was a year late or something, or maybe not. You know, I think Major League was in the planning stages for the last several years, but it was kind of a perfect storm, and it all hit at once.
What are the plans to recover from this? And maybe even a two-part question. What are the plans to recover, and what are the plans to fill the field for next year? I've heard, you know, gosh, you hear rumors, everything from, you know, going 30 deep in the opens to inviting FLW guys to, you know, ex-elite guys. I mean, what are the plans to fill that field?
In other words, Dave, when can I expect my invitation?
Got to bring
I'm
yourself
sorry,
into
demand
it.
is so great to come back. You got to call us. No, we still have a published qualifying system, and that goes through the Opens Championship, where we will get 11 anglers out of that. We have about 40 or so who have signed up and committed for next year, and we're very proud of them. They are the nucleus that we're going to build our Elite Series upon. And then we have some other options. You mentioned going down the Opens list is a very popular one, but we're going to keep the options open. I'm very gratified that we've heard from dozens and dozens of people who would really like to come and fish the Elite Series, and I know there's some excellent anglers out there, and we just haven't made a decision. We're actually in consultation with the anglers who've stayed with us, and we're hearing them out on how they recommend that we do it. And in that case, we're being as transparent as we can.
Gotcha. Give me the strengths of bass that MLF can't offer, because I think that's important to know too. You know, the vision of bass in 5 years, and what you guys can offer that MLF can't.
Yeah, you know, our vision changes from time to time, and now it looks like the Elite Series in 5 years is going to be even more exclusive. Of course, much smaller field than 111, which we had started with last year. And it's going to be, I think it's going to be more lucrative for the anglers because there will be fewer, and we'll be able to focus exposure and promotion on a smaller group. So that's going to be a good thing. I see, you know, kind of steady evolution of the sport, and but you know that at the same time, technology is changing so much.
Yeah.
You know, social media who knows what channel is going to be the most effective one? Is it going to be TV? Is it going to be something that hasn't even been invented yet? You can have your 5-year plans, but you have to be nimble enough to adjust to whatever happens and make the most of it. So we are dedicated to being strong and serving the fans first and the sponsors and anglers second, because that's the two of the pillars that hold the stool up, so we're just going to be dedicated to doing our best. Now what do we have that Major League Fishing doesn't have, other than, say, 50 years of history? I think that we have been able to survive, and honestly, if you look at it, it's been a challenging environment financially, but we've been able to survive because we have so many different media channels, and we've focused on every one of them. You look around the country at some of the outdoor magazines, and a lot of them have faded out or been cut way back in circulation and frequency, and we continue to have good success with Bassmaster and Bass Times. We've branched out into radio recently. I think you've been on the Bassmaster radio show.
Yeah.
That's growing in popularity. It's a good show, and Tom Abraham's a great host. There's our website, our social media presence. They touch millions of people. I know that we stayed at 500,000 or 500,000, sounds better, 500,000 Bass members for many years. But that's kind of, in publishing, that's kind of a magic number. But the key thing is that over recent years, we have reached the point where there's 4.4 million readers per copy of Bassmaster, and that's not our estimate. This is an organization called Media Research Institute that rates all the major magazines. So we've grown where a lot of other magazines have not. We have television, we have live, we pioneered live TV. Now, I imagine that Major League is going to try to have a presence in all of those areas. If they're smart, they will, because you just can't make it with a one-dimensional media platform.
Yeah.
But so far, we're proud that we've got the best, and we are determined to make sure they stay at the top.
Wow.
Is that a good enough commercial for us?
That's a great answer.
I like it.
I want to thank you for shedding light on a lot of the situation. And the great thing, Pete, that I heard tonight from Dave that is great is this common ground that that the anglers have and that this organization has, and I think I'm going to hear it from the other ones as well, is the growth of the sport. You know what I mean? Making the sport better, growing the sport, reaching new people. That's all things that this is common. This is common ground. These are goals we want to work toward together. And that's awesome to hear that, that the organizations have that same goal that we have as anglers. So I really, really, really appreciate your time tonight, Dave.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. Everybody, Pete, Ike, Becky, Dave, and
Thank
it
you.
was enjoyable. And thanks for giving me the opportunity to tell some of our side of the story. It was fun.
Dave, most importantly, thank you for thanking me and not Brian.
Yes! Yes, Brian the Carpenter's work.
That absolutely scored his ego, dude. Thank you.
Now, our very own Brian the Carpenter might be fishing MLF as well. We'll find out later tonight. But, Dave, we want to thank you for joining Ike Live tonight, and we do really wish you the best, and we'll talk to you soon.
Best of luck.
Hey, thanks so much, y'all.
Thank you, Dave.
Dave
Enjoy.
Precht, everybody. Joining us live via phone. So happy to have him on. The Director of Tournament Operations for FLW Outdoors, the one and only Bill Taylor, everybody. Bill,
Yes, sir.
how you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, gentlemen, and thank you for having me on. I've been wanting to get on your show. You never have to call me back or invited me on, but I'm on now.
Man, this has been long overdue, and I apologize for not having you on sooner. It took like the end of the world in the sport of professional fishing to get you here, but I'm so glad to have you on.
Well,
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, Bill, you know what? I'm not sure that's true, Bill, because My recollection is we've had you on a few times.
That's not the real Bill Taylor.
Yeah, I've been on a couple of times, Mr. Gerald Swindle, and obviously Luke Duncan, they fit in for him.
Oh.
I
was due.
No, it's my pleasure.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Bill, but the FLW is the biggest tournament participation organization out there.
And we're proud of that fact. And obviously, we do have some big names within the sport today that started out. Sean Grigsby was one of our first $100,000 winners.
Yeah.
And he's still active. And Rick Clun won a BFL All-American years ago. And it goes on down the line. Clark Wendlick made a hero out of himself with FLW, former All-American champion. And it goes on and on and on and jump-started many a career. I look sometimes, guys, at the elite series rosters and the other tournament trails out there, and it seems like I've been associated with a minimum of 80% of every pro in the sport today, and most of them started at FLW, and we take a lot of pride in being able to say that. We do over 200 events a year nationwide. We're international now with, I think, about 10 different nations involved in our FLW international program. Very proud of that. So FLW is a good company. I'm very proud that I've ever even been a part of it as an angler, but now as a manager. My life has been fulfilled by fishing, and FLW has been a big part of it.
Why? Let me ask you, why has FLW and the BFLs and the tour, why has it been such? It's been the training ground really for the cream of the crop in professional fishing. Why is that, Bill? Why is FLW?
I think that we were founded on that premise, and then when Mr. Jacobs took over and bought the the old Operation Bass, renamed it the FLW, began the FLW Tour, that even solidified our business model. And his ingenious of using the Ranger Boat Factory and their company that he purchased and owned as a tournament organization to help move product. He was one of the first people to come up with the raft boats. He was the guy that put us in jerseys. So a lot of history with Mr. Jacobs, and certainly with our leadership now with Kathy Fennell as operation president, along with Trish Bright. That's Irwin's daughter. Heads up our marketing team as president there. We feel like we've got good leadership at the top, and we've certainly got some of the best employees in the world, and all of our tournament directors are in-house. They're dedicated to what they do. They love it. They live it, and it's just a great company.
FLW organization has been steady Eddie, very steady and solid, and just staying one level and not really going crazy and changing. Talk to me a little bit about that strategy.
It goes back to the fact that we've got so many other circuits out there, guys.
Yeah.
You know, we're big in high school and college. Our college fishing part of it is a huge thing. We feel like we've got the best deal out there. Obviously, we got the more events than anyone in college. We pay more money out for those kids in scholarship dollars. We bring along a Costa Series with the FLW Series, second to none with the No Injury Championship with chances to go to the Cup from there, to work their way into the FLW Tour. And our process from the BFL to the Costa Series and right on up to the Tour is just a perfect business model for FLW, and it's worked for us. And hopefully and pray that through hard work from all of our staff and our angler support that we'll continue to survive and do well in this industry.
Gotcha.
Well, you definitely do a great job with the college kids. I know, a lot of the people that I talk to and deal with, express that you guys are doing great work with the kids, and that's definitely to be applauded. And what are your plans in that arena? Are you expanding in that area in 19, or where are you guys going with the college or even high school programs?
Well, we're changing up a little bit. Yes, we're doing some things there with the college. Those anglers will be able, now we'll take two from the college championship. Both the competitors in those boats would make the Cup. So that's a big deal there to make the FLW Cup. we're giving them a little bit more opportunity. For instance, at the VFL All-American, we're going to live stream that live on the water coverage, much like the tour. We'll be doing the same thing for the championship events going forward for the Costa Series. Our On the Water Live, I feel like, is second to none at this point in time. Our producer that all of that is working with Jesse Schultz along with Peyote Perriman, and we got our own in-house studio. We feel like that we're going to grow the college and all of our anglers through that. So I think for the entire industry and our business, Michael, and I think you and Pete both agree, On the Water Live coverage is where it's at right now. And we've got to spend money and invest in that, and I think our sport will continue to grow in that way.
Yeah. I know we've got tons of questions and comments coming in from our IM, Bill. What do we got, Dave?
Sure.
All right, so, hey, Bill, this is Dave. So, Bill.
Hey, Dave.
Hello.
Yeah,
Dave the Bill here. So, listen, we have the overwhelming amount of comments that have come in with you being on is BFL level anglers very, very upset with the raise of the entry fees, and the overwhelming question is, did they get their fees jacked up to A, compensate for the departure of the co-anglers, or B, to try to keep pros from defecting?
So there's a lot of questions that's going to be asked about our program at the BFL level, but what people's not reading is the entirety of that. For us to be sustainable through the business model and get them move forward for 2020 and doing without the co-anglers, so there is a combination to all that, okay? But in retrospect, they need to look, and people need to look entirely at the new program, which would include more opportunities to go into the Cup out of the BFL All-American. They'll go on into the Costa Series Championship like that. So there's a lot of opportunities involved in that. We'll also be doing some social media work at each BFL, doing some live over our social media networking system. So there's a lot of things that's going to be involved that really hadn't been talked about yet, but to move that part of the puzzle forward. So I'm sure there is some questions out there. Entry fees have increased, but we still have more no entry fee championship events than any other organization out there. And it takes money. As everyone knows, expenses have went up over the years. Entry fees have increased. Unfortunately, sometimes you can't increase payouts, even though you do increase entry fees. But the bottom line is we offer one of the best, if not the best product out there, top to bottom. And to do that platform straight across the board, it requires additional income. So I'm sure there's guys out there and ladies that are disappointed, and I'm sure there's people that says, hey, that's a great deal anyhow, I'm going to do it, and we pray and hope that everybody continues to support us.
You know, it's been, rumored and that the anglers see all the other tournaments making big changes and financial changes, and I've heard that there's a letter circulating around that's signed by 80 or 90 of the anglers expressing some of their concerns with the FLW. I guess I'd just like you to address that. Is that the case, and how are you guys handling that situation?
Question, and I respect that very much. And to answer your question, they sent us a proposal of some things that they were concerned with. One of them being early entry dates, which were created basically due to the fact that we started the season a little bit earlier and the way the holidays fell. And so but we have, and I always will listen to our anglers. I'll say that in all honesty, whether it was through a petition-type proposal from our anglers or whether a guy calls me and Kathy or whomever and asks that we try to do this or do that, we try to listen to everyone. When it comes to the payout part, yes, we increased the entry fees, but the bottom line is we increased the payout as well at each event. Now, is it substantial? No, it isn't. But it is up toward about $50,000 more per event than we've had paid in the past. at the tour level. Okay. With that being said, we did react to some of the proposed questions that the panel or the petitioners put toward us. Obviously, Kathy and Trish and Dave Washburn, along with other staff members, took this very serious, as we always do. And we listened to our panel guys on the panel, and we have made some adjustments, and we'll probably make a few more. I think we're going to go ahead and lower our deposits by just over $1,000, but that'll change our process of accepting the final balances for the year. Our payment schedule, I'm sorry, I need to refer to it, as to where the last two events would be paid in full. But yes, we listen to our anglers. Sometimes we can work on it, and sometimes we can't.
Yeah.
But that's a good question.
Yeah.
Now, going forward, we have to have a plan that we can make sure that we can do what we say we do. So 2020, this is a transition year for us, and most of our pros understand that or realize it through our panel meetings all year. So, we do have some work to do, but we've got long-term plans that will call for increase in payouts when we reduce the field to 150 max going forward in 2020.
Wow, that's awesome. I heard something there, Bill, that I just want to echo that again I like, and I do want to call you to the plate on something. You mentioned that you listen to the anglers, and I think that's so important, for a league to do.
Yes, it is.
It's so important to listen to your anglers. Bill, this one's come up. I've been monitoring our Ike Live social media a little bit, and this one has come up several times, and it's interesting. And I have to ask it. I can't ignore this one. FLW really has evolved and changed its format of making anglers get in sponsor boats and forcing anglers to wear sponsored jerseys. The model at FLW seems like it's changed and advanced in time past that. What are your feelings now that MLF has sort of reverted back to that, where now Major League Fishing is in their cup events are forcing guys to fish out of boats that aren't theirs, and are requiring guys to wear jerseys with sponsors that aren't their sponsors. What's your take on that, Bill?
Well, believe it or not, now obviously we talked amongst ourselves at FLW about that very thing.
Yeah.
As I said, we were the first to come up with Mr. Jacobs' idea with the route boats and the jerseys and the fancy colors and all of that. But we listened to our anglers. Our anglers said, "Hey, we want to use our own boat. It's uncomfortable getting in a strange boat."
Yeah.
And it is. I can't get in my best buddy's boat and feel comfortable, and it be the same model and the same thing I've got. You may have to have went from an Evinrude to a Mercury, or from a Mercury to a Yamaha, or whatever. So it did create some issues. And then the exclusivity on the jerseys, that held us back a little bit, we feel like. And once we let some of that loose, and now we've got just a small number of exclusive sponsors, it allows our anglers to brand themselves a little more, and to promote themselves through their own wraps and their own jerseys. So I think it's been a win for FLW, to be honest with you, and I wish that and hope the best for the Major League fishing anglers. I know that I've noticed that the first thing off,
Yeah.
but I'd rather not say anything negative about what they're doing. It was a good thing that worked for us for a long time. I hope it works for MLF. I mean, at Major League Fishing, they do things a little bit different than we did, but obviously with that part of the process. But still, we have mentioned that amongst ourselves, I'll be honest with you. I really appreciate the opportunity, folks, and great job, Ike, and good luck in MLF. I see you haven't announced yet what you're going to do. I'm hoping you come over to FLW.
It's definitely an option if you can watch the rest of the show, because I can tell you it's going to be a shocker, Bill. So keep watching to the end.
Got a spot at FLW if you want to come over. I can get you in on a sponsor exemption. So we'd like to have you over here.
Well,
okay?
you know that the
You too, Pete.
I can tell you the FLW championship is one thing I don't have on my resume. I have a second place in that thing, and I'd love to win that thing. So you may see me over there sooner or later.
If you go, I'll
I hope
go.
we do.
All right, Bill. I can't thank you enough for.
Again, thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you,
My
Bill.
pleasure. Thank you folks for listening. Thank
Bill
you,
Taylor,
guys.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Yes, 2007 Bassmaster Classic champion, Pete. That's a big title. Boyd Duckett joins us tonight on Ike Live. Hi, Boyd.
Hey guys, how we doing this evening?
Doing great. I would never leave out your classic win in the introduction of you on this show tonight.
Man, and I do appreciate that. I've always loved bass fishing and have been really proud to get to compete in the accomplishments that I've had a chance to earn there in the fishing business. It's been a passion of mine since I was a kid. I've always loved bass fishing, and as the years went by, professional bass fishing.
The last 2 weeks have been a whirlwind for everybody. Been a whirlwind for the anglers, the fans, the sponsors. You know, it's almost like everybody's head spinning. But when you look right now, and if you look at the current list of committed MLF anglers, 79 guys who are essentially the best in the sport, what's your first thought? Give me your first thought that pops in your mind.
Well, my first thought is we have one additional slot we're waiting for a commitment on. Just thought I'd throw that out there. But outside of that, we're real excited. This is a long-term plan for us, and it continues down our path. That's 6 or 7 years old now, and you know it's the next major platform for us to continue to push in our direction. So exciting times.
You mentioned right there, and this is something I want to talk about because again, Pete, there's a lot of people watching that don't know the backstory. You know, we got fans and listeners right now that, believe it or not, Boyd, some of them are just tuning in and being, you know, in the last week, and they're, what's MLF? There are some of those people, right? I've seen the comments. Talk a little bit about the humble beginnings 7 years ago, because I was there at that first event. I remember, but talk a little bit about that first event and the feeling at that first event and the vision at that first event, and has it progressed to where you envisioned it back then 7 years ago at Lake Amistad?
Yeah, absolutely. Those are fun memories, Mike. And you know, to go to the very beginning, you know, early on, this vision of what Major League Fishing would become. That's something that Gary Klein and I sort of had two different paths going, and we merged with our ideas and got a chance to get some anglers that wanted to believe in an opportunity to, you know, not create another tournament trail. It's not about that. What we wanted to do was have a chance to be able to build a business model and get both our sponsor partners involved and get anglers involved that were willing to invest both time and money to give us a fair chance for our sport, professional bass fishing, to be recognized in a wider platform and a larger platform because we knew the value that would make for professional anglers, just like some of the other sports that have gone through growth. You know, it takes a big media platform to create the cash flow necessary to make it great for professional anglers.
Yeah.
So that's one piece of it. Another piece of it is certainly, you know, the opportunity for us to create something and invest well beyond, you know, the pool that our industry existed in for so long. You know, we have great organizations in the sport that we all grew up with. They remain great organizations, and so, you know, I didn't see it back then, and I still don't see it today as competition for a tour or anything along those lines. Mm-hmm. It's, hey, can we pool together this energy from our corporate sponsors, our equity sponsor in KSE and Outdoor Sportsman Group? Can we all agree on a vision that gives our sport a true chance? And can we find a mechanism to create the funding so that we can afford to invest in our future, which we do in the form of media platforms. So watching that happen from that first event back in Amistad, we didn't know what we were doing, had a great idea. You know, we made lots of mistakes, but certainly that vision has never changed, and we have just added to this freight train of momentum. It seems every year we've been able to add team members to this powerful team that we had. You know, the management and employees at Major League Fishing, second to none. You know, Mike, I'm really a businessman first and a professional angler second. It's been my passion since I was a teenager, but I can't break my desire to work either. So, you know, from that side, I'm really more in my wheelhouse now, you know, than I am on the water. And so I recognize what has happened is this tremendous opportunity and this alignment of partners and the anglers that are willing to invest their time. So that's kind of the history of where it came from. That idea has progressed to where you see us today with our 4 Cup events and our World Championship, and then moving forward, this opportunity to make it much larger. That's what today is about.
Give us the overall long-term vision of MLF in 5 years or maybe even beyond. What is the vision?
Well, and that's a great question, and it's I'm trying to find a way to condense that answer because it's massive. But the vision remains very close to the same as it has always been, and that is to first off take people within our industry, both anglers, you know, equity partners, these 80 new anglers, and sponsors, and make everybody believe in the dream that what we have always seen as our playground can be so much larger and so much grander. And if we're willing to invest, and that's what this assembly of horsepower is, with all that we have involved, and we remain conscious because we know that if we're successful, we'll bring a lot of new people into this sport, which will make it better for all of us. It'll give us all so much more opportunity. We have to be respectful of our environment. That is one of the things that Major League Fishing with our catch and release, you know, the messaging that we have, that's one of our goals going forward. And, you know, things in this world today get taken care of by groups. You know, you have to have a voice. And the outdoorsmen in this country today, you know, they don't have as big a constituency and as strong a voice as they used to have. Yeah. So making people aware of our sport, our you know, our outdoors and our fisheries, that's all part of this plan because that will benefit every single one of us. So, you know, we're moving in that direction.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, let me remind everybody watching and listening right now, we've got Boyd Duckett on. If you've got a question for him in the next 15 or 20 minutes, please hit us up on our IM. We're going to get it through to him. Pete, I see you over there. You're like in deep thought. I know the look when you've got a question you want to ask. I'll pass it to you right now because I can see it in your eye.
Hey, Boyd, I watched you on Bass Talk Live, you know, from a couple weeks ago, and you know, there's a lot going on here, and there's a lot of controversy. So I guess Mike's pointing to me because he wants me to dive into the controversy.
That's not true. That's not true at all.
That's a little bit true.
No, it's not.
But
no, then he'd send it to Dave, not you.
Yeah, that's the real controversial stuff. But you know, a lot of what you talk about is this monster platform, media platform, which is going to be required to move the sport to the next level. You know, I've heard you talk about it. You know, you just mentioned it just a little while ago. Can you shed some details on, you know, for us about? Is that all television? Do you have you know, other media platforms that you're diving into that's going to be able to, you know, provide that platform to the anglers and the sport? Can you shed some light on that for us?
Absolutely. You know, by comparison to what's out there, you know, our investment in media is many multiple times we will film more than 850 television program hours. 850 television program hours. I mean, that's phenomenal and unprecedented by many times. That will get filmed next year through all of our 14 events. In addition to that, the advent of live, especially for our endemic audience, Bass has shown us how fun and exciting that is. We don't want to miss that opportunity to offer Major League Fishing live as well, and we have some great ideas to try to improve and enhance that to make it more fun and exciting for our viewers. Now, television is currently the king of the hill in the media platform, but remember, and we have great media partners in Outdoor Sportsman Group and all the talent in that team. We're fully aware that television is a slowly sinking media to some extent, but remember, we own our content, and we're fully aware of that. Their investment in MOTV, which is a different drive to media, and all of the new and up-and-coming media streams where people will receive their sports and their entertainment, we want to be part of all that and intend to be part of all that. So we're building this content, fully prepared to give it into whatever media form it needs to be. So, we're ready for the future with a long-term plan.
Well, that's a lot of hours. That's certainly a lot of media coverage. I'm going to be excited to watch a lot of it. But let's get back to what's happened here. We've heard it a number of times. Bass has been gutted. It's somewhat of a hostile takeover. And we've heard it said a number of times. Is the intent here to weaken Bass so that maybe you can merge with them, purchase them? Is there any motives in the process along those lines that you guys are involved in?
No, not at all. Bass is a great organization, and there's a lot of great anglers, at Bass currently, and still will be at Bass, as well as FLW. We don't really compete specifically with those leagues. Their business model is very different than ours. They're a tournament participation league, in my opinion. That's what has been out there. And we're very different than that. We're currently we're television based. Our focus and goal is to find a way to bring more people through the medium of exposure, to make people aware of our sport, and to have the opportunity to bring more people into the sport.
Yeah.
For all of those positive items we talked about earlier. And so that's really what our long-term focus is, and those organizations are what we grew up with, and they will continue to grow great anglers and have opportunity. And I'm going to say this as well, because this has always been part of our business plan. I believe this in my heart. I've thought about this for 6 years. There's nothing quick coming here in thought process, but if we're able to be successful, and we go out and we're able to make more people interested in bass fishing, and there's a lot of horsepower to make that happen, guys, that's going to be a huge benefit for everybody that fishes, from a grassroots level to a professional level. And I fully expect that we will rise the value of the other leagues in this sport through participation and demand.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of the old adage, if you raise the water, all ships rise. And make no mistake, we are in it to raise the water for everyone.
Yeah.
And I believe we'll be successful at that. So it seems rocky now because, we're moving, and we do have a very powerful machine, but it is our full intent and part of our business model to make it good for everybody in it. So that's part of our business plan.
That's great to hear, and growing the sport, building new participants. There are things that
we all want.
We all want.
The sport needs.
The sport needs it. It's paramount to the growth of the sport. I do want to hit you with something, Boyd, because it's I mentioned it earlier in the show, but I've really been paying attention more than normal to social media, to people's comments. We've seen this. It's almost become a parade of people posting where they're going, right? Whether it's with MLF or Bass or FLW, it's almost become this really cool thing of guys posting different ways. And I've really been focused on the comments, and a lot of them. And we threw the number around earlier that was about 60-40 from my estimate. 60% are in favor of the guy's decisions and they're for it. 60% of the guys saying yes, you're good here, but 40% are, and especially for the guys that went to MLF, are concerned. And echoing what Pete said, how could you be disloyal to Bass? How could you tear down the Shield? How could you do this? And I'm cognizant of that, because I don't believe that is the case for anybody involved here. But how are you handling that? And how should anglers handle that discontent with fans or the general public?
Well, change is scary, and it's scary for everyone. That's one of the things in people having, managed and started many businesses. Within my employee base, change is always frightening, and so you're going to have mixed emotions. I think, given the opportunity for us to move forward, and when the world sees our genuine efforts to do things to make this sport stronger or more powerful than it's ever been, those opinions will quickly change. And I think there'll be great appreciation from not only the fans, but definitely everybody that participates in bass fishing. I think you'll see a great appreciation for the investment and the energy that we've put into this project.
Yeah, and the other thing too, I saw, and it's up to you whether you want to comment on this or not, Boyd. I saw a lot of comments that said, "Man, why couldn't MLF just partner with Bass? Why couldn't they merge with Bass?
All sit down at a table and work this out."
Do you want to address that? It's totally up to you if you do or don't, because I know the real answer, but it's up to you whether you want to talk about it.
I think it's safe to say we did attempt to do that, and we talked about things that we could do together. And the Bass organization, with their plans, and it's their company and their choice. We couldn't find common ground to get together to do this. I personally would have liked that. I want to say because there's never been any intention for it to be in any way damaging to Bass. I've been a member of Bass since the early 70s when I was a young teenager. I have every magazine since then. The Bass brand and the Bass Shield has a very special place in my heart, and it always will. It's my opinion that the current ownership is simply a steward of the brand, as was the previous ownership. And if I got a chance to buy it one day, I recognize I would only be a steward of the brand. And that because that brand is powerful and means a lot to us. So, with that being said, and that's not to take it away from FLW. In several of the interviews, people have asked me about FLW. I think every one of us got our start in fishing. Yeah. They've done such a great job in grassroots. I'm an old red man guy. Some of my first big tournaments were Golden Blend events. First-class organization, and they do a great job. They do what they do, and that's different from where we have our sites. So I don't really see us in competition with those two leagues. Yeah. I see us with a completely different mission than what their business models are. And I hope that all of us are successful because we help each other, get another step up the ladder.
Yeah. It's a good point. Yeah, Pete, what do you got?
Well, some more stuff, controversial stuff. Boyd, we had name escapes me at the minute.
Hank Cherry?
Hank Cherry. Hank was on. He was talking about he didn't get invited to the MLF, and he was very, very opinionated about the selection process, the lack of transparency, not knowing why he didn't get picked. You know, can you address that for us now? Like what?
And it does go both ways too. You know, I think again what we saw from the IM tonight, and we're gonna let Dave chime in on some more questions, but we've had some of these coming through, Boyd. You know, why guys were included. Some guys were included. Gary Klaus's name came up a few times. Why were guys excluded? Not just Hank Cherry, but Scott Ashworth's name was brought up. We've had
Brian Thrift.
We've had these things come through, and I think it's something, you know, I think it's something we should talk about. It's for sure been a hot topic here tonight.
Yes. Well, you know, let me say that when we first started Major League Fishing, we had the same process where we took 24 guys that had a passion about the sport and were willing to do the work. You remember back in the old days, Mike, you know, we went to tournaments on our own dime.
Oh yeah.
We didn't make any money. We fished for free.
Yeah.
You know, we did we put the time, energy, and money into growing the sport. And that was a very successful process. And I remember back then there was some questions about, you know, those that did or didn't get invited, but the business model was very successful by that selection. Now, here we are again at the next stage where we had to select an additional group. We already had, 50 guys or 51 guys or something involved in Major League Fishing. So, and I think Bass Fan, from memory, has 350-some professional anglers in our sport, 350.
Yeah.
And we're adding, 30 guys or something. Unfortunately, because there's some great anglers in the sport, unquestionably, that I want to see ultimately end up in Major League Fishing, and I believe that they all will. They'll certainly all have that responsibility as we complete our feeder tour, and those guys will come through and be part of it. We cut 10 guys a year, so gosh, in 4 years' time in the cut, that's half the field will be turned over. But that same selection process, remember that, we are the guys investing heavy in a television product. We wanted to have samplings from all age groups. We wanted to be fully represent all segments of the sport of bass fishing. So it's just not as simple as points or trophies and hardware and all those things. And, I'd love to have all the guys, man. I mean, that was one of the hardest things for the selection committee was to, knowing in your heart that all the guys couldn't currently be part of it. It's just impossible because of the small number of 80. Now, that being said, those guys they're in great places. I mean, Bass has made some very positive changes. I may go back over there and fish a couple of years if they'll let me, man. Get a chance at one more classic or something, man. That's a great organization, as is FLW. So, no one has anything less than they had and probably have more than they had. Yeah. And I think that the assembly of the anglers has certainly made both leagues very aware of the needs of the anglers. And I think that those of us at Major League Fishing, we're obviously, angler-owned and angler-driven. We're very aware of that. And I'm proud of the fact that it looks like bass fishing, professional bass fishing, is getting better for all anglers at all leagues. Yeah. And that's awesome. I'm glad to see everybody step up and have an awareness of the pros because, we are professional bass fishing as professional anglers. We've dedicated our lives to it. And, so it's in our heart and soul, and it's great to be appreciated.
Yeah, I want to echo that. I think we have definitely pulled this out of the mess tonight, Pete, that there are a lot of positives about what's going on in the last 2 or 3 weeks. A lot of people want you to clarify, or they're unsure of what Johnny Morris and Bass Pro Shops, what their involvement is moving forward in the MLF tour. Well,
the opportunity to get Bass Pro Shops involved, and Johnny Moore specifically, into Major League Fishing, I have all the respect in the world for Johnny and his care for the outdoors. He's obviously an outstanding conservationist, but that's a term that's thrown around a lot. In fishermen's terms, he has a soft spot in his heart to protect fishing and the wildlife, and provide us the environment that we can continue to do what we love to do and hunt and fish. That so perfectly fits what we're trying to achieve in the growth of the sport, and the wisdom that comes from that management team in doing things correctly. And as we grow this thing and people come in, it's critical, to have those brilliant minds involved. So that's my biggest excitement of having, Bass Pro Shop, Johnny and John Paul and the rest of that management team involved is, it's like having, it's like putting Tom Brady on your team when you're playing football, man. And I know you're an Eagles fan, so that doesn't go over big, but, so let me draft some from your team, but the whole point is, that's the exciting part for us. And then you couple that with our existing equity partner, KSE, owned by Mr. Cronky. He's a big outdoor enthusiast as well, loves hunting and fishing, loves the outdoors, and he spent nearly $1 billion in the outdoor industry, in networks and outdoor magazines, outdoor websites. So to be able to take that passion of those two great leaders and combine them with the anglers, that is a powerful force, guys.
Yeah.
That is. I'm as proud of this business model being assembled with this much force, that all that can share the dream and help carry the load to take this thing to the next level. This isn't conversation. This isn't just simply striking at the existing fan base we've always had. But these are investing millions and millions of dollars to go out and legitimately make a difference in bringing a lot of new eyes to our sport. And so that kind of answers that answers all of the partners' questions, positions actually. And it's it's an awesome dream. This is a great day for the sport of bass fishing.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I think you gotta have involvement from companies like that, from partners like that. Boyd, I want to thank you for joining us. I know how stressful and busy this week is at the Sponsor Summit, and man, it's been an amazing show, Pete. It's been insightful. I've learned a lot myself about what's going on.
We've learned some new things.
And I really believe we've shed light to a lot of the fans and listeners on what's the real deal, what's going on, and the real reasons that this happened, and the future of the sport, which the great thing is everybody wants to see it grow. That's a commonality, and that's an amazing thing. So,
Boyd, one more for you.
Oh.
A gun to your head, you have to hire one of these guys for MLF. Pete Glusick, Fat Cat Newton, or Pat Renwick from Stray Cats?
Pete compared to who now?
Fat Cat.
Exactly.
Exactly. Question answered. Question answered.
And Pat Renwick from
and
Stray
Pat
Cats.
Renwick. Okay.
The way how I look at that, I look at that the same eye as I do lottery immigration. Okay, you pick a ticket and we'll take whatever comes.
Pete is so insulted right now. I think all three guys are.
All three guys.
See, I wouldn't be happy if I couldn't go off the show knowing I pissed off somebody.
Paybacks.
I advise everybody to watch bass.
Hey, I'm going to have to mail everybody white rods just so I get back on the show.
Shit.
I'll send the addresses.
Send the address. Post the address live. Boyd, thank you again for coming coming on, and I really do appreciate you sharing the vision and ideas and the concepts of what Major League Fishing is about, and look forward to a lot of cool things from you guys in the next couple of years.
Man, it's we are launching to another place, so it's going to be fun and exciting these next couple of years. And thanks, guys. I love your show. I catch it every chance I get. You guys are always insightful. You ask the real questions, and you have fun along the way. So you have a lot to be proud of too.
I appreciate it. There you have it,
Thank
Boyd
you, Boyd.
Duckett, everybody.
Good luck.
See you guys.